To Friday Free for All, I would assume that on the CIA website they have Discord management and they have a meme lord job up,
They
right?
have got to have a meme lord, like
They're
the
just
meme lord. Well, now that Threads is launched, they've got to be able. Okay, we at least need someone over at Threads, dude. The new website is on point.
the
So
CIA website.
yeah, their website used to be a stinker, and it used to have like little
Used
Easter
to
eggs.
be
Yeah.
Sparksite's trying to get that.
if I could do a case study of the CIA website, but right now the website does actually look really good. So they have enterprise and support, and so they have an admin professional, 89,000. They do have tech and cyber. Oh, that's an attorney, clinical psychologist. Hold on, community manager. Is that what I'm looking for in the
You're looking
CIA?
for a community manager, Discord management, meme lord, chief degen officer, all things that you could slide into.
I need to slide it. Hold on. Wait, hold community.
You should find the info at cia.gov and just say, "Do you have DMs I can slide in?"
What? Excuse me. What are your DMs? Because I feel like slide.
Do you have a
Nothing on
Threads
Discord.
handle?
Yeah. I'd like my handle to be at Jason Bourne. But because I come from a Christian background, it's at Jason Born Again. And well,
Not BOURNE, but BORN. That's actually an amazing Jason Born Again. How is that not a Twitter handle of just someone who trolls, dude? Just bringing Jesus into conversations where he shouldn't be.
I'm willing to bet cold hard cash.
Like crypto. The number of crypto people that I see make Christian posts, I'm just like, good Lord, this is crypto Twitter. I don't need to be bombarded by your Christian philosophy.
There's a lot of Bitcoiners that are into God, and it's cool. Like, do you, right? But
there's a huge faith community there.
It's like Sunday, stack sats, stakes, and Jesus. And I'm like, wow. Two of those no one cares about.
Stacking sats and souls. It's called discipleship. Degen discipleship.
Yeah. My prophet is my prophet. Get it?
No, it's the t-shirt where it says like no peace, no him, no peace, KNOW, him, no peace. And then they highlight in a different color the NO and KNOW, like no him, no peace. You know, it's the same thing. It's no degens, no profit, no profits, you know. So they do have an artificial intelligence specialist. They have autonomous, but I don't see any degen shit on the CIA website, unfortunately. I'm sure they have analytics engineer, Aussie, which you would be good with, like economics, like people with economics backgrounds. You could be the chief American economic analyst from Canada for the IRS.
I don't even know if Aussie can work for the CIA without getting citizenship. There's no, like they're not hiring foreigners. He'd have to denounce.
What do you think a contractor is for? Like, do you know how big the black budget is for contractors?
No, I know it's 90%, but I'm just saying, like, most of those contractors still hold allegiance first to the Stars and the Stripes, not the Maple Leaf flag.
Yeah, but the Maple Leaf flag is even better. So
I don't know how many of these people are actually like sworn affiliates of the United States, bro.
I mean, on some level, there's probably someone who's being paid by the CIA who doesn't care about the United States but likes the paycheck. But I'm saying they do try to probably keep on brand.
Bros, I found the job on the CIA for us.
Does it say a 3-person podcast that talk about nothing?
Of mixed company, one who lives in the drug narco capital of the world, the other who lives in the MLM Jesus capital of the world, and the one who lives in the Canadian maple syrup capital of the world for $9.95. No, this is extended reality specialist.
Oh, that's actually legit.
Oh, okay. We could do that.
Can we joint apply?
We identify as a single unit?
Who gets the dental?
Yeah, who gets the dental? We can share the dental. All right. So the question I was going to ask you, Aussie, is you just mentioned having finished your very huge milestone of getting a master's. Knowing what you now know about entrepreneurship, would you have still obtained your master's?
Sure.
Probably not.
Probably not, you say?
No.
I would have guessed you would have said emphatically yes.
Probably not. If you
Really?
are if you're going into entrepreneurship, then I don't think you need a master's. I don't even know
I
if you
know
really
for a
need a
fact, son.
bachelor's. I don't even think you need a bachelor's. Like, you don't even need a college degree if you're going to be entrepreneurial.
No,
I
you don't.
really don't think so.
It helps to not have those things, actually.
And then, if you're trying to get a job, sure, having a master's, but the number of people that have their master's now is ridiculous.
It's everybody. It's the minimum entry fee.
Yeah, it's 2/3 out of people that maybe maybe a third out of people that finish their bachelor's go for a master's now. It used to be like an eighth or a tenth or even like 3% at some point.
Yeah.
Like, masters are, they're a little bit dime a dozen now, a little bit more often.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, I'm lucky I don't have the U.S. student debt problem. I got mine on a full ride, so.
What the actual F?
I don't want to ever hear complaints anymore from you for the rest of your life about money. If you're living on the street, I will walk by and be like, "Ha, no student debt."
I would buy him a McDonald's burger if he was lost in New York and couldn't charge
and I would
his cell
put
phone.
Just too soon. And I would put a message in the burger so when he unwraps it, it says hot, no student debt.
Enjoy your Whopper, bitch. Oh, you are cruel, bro. Yeah, that's interesting. I would have guessed for sure because of your government job and there is stability and you are still young. And if I could grab a young person and sorry, Joe Biden, if I could speak to young people.
Before you say anything forever on the rest of the show, at least for the show, you have to say sorry, Joe Biden, before. No matter
Sorry,
what.
Joe Biden. If I were to be able to speak to young people at like 17, I'd say several things. Number one, start your IRA today. No matter what. You'll be done by 24 for life. And then you still have a whole entrepreneur journey. If you put, I think it was like $100 a month from like 16 to 24 or something like this in an IRA, for life, you are guaranteed to retire a millionaire and you're done. You don't have to think about it again. So I'd say that. I'd say start studying real estate in your off time. But then I'd say advance and accelerate your master's. I did dual enrollment so that my senior year of high school, I was getting college credit. And if I would have continued that journey, I would have been done with everything by 26.
I'm done. I'm going to be turning 25 in August. So like in essentially a month from today.
I was doubling up on classes. So if that's the case, I probably would have been done even a little sooner and been done. And the reason is this. I think that you want as many things in your favor as possible. And I'm not down with student debt, but in America, there are plenty of resources that the debt that people go into, when people talk about student debt, if you actually analyze the makeup of that debt, oftentimes it's wealthy people who went to exceptionally expensive schools who have exceptional debt. It's doctors, right? It's engineers, or it's people that just didn't bother looking at the grant system or the FAFSA, and they chose to go to college out of state. My state college in Florida was completely affordable. I think I ended up spending like $1,000 a year on books alone. Like, there are plenty of state programs. The 2 years that I went at community college in town. And so it's affordable. It doesn't have to be ridiculous. So I see Jarrett shaking his head. If I could get the education and and the network and not have incurred crazy student debt. And I don't think that's a minimum. We bitch about student debt, but we choose it. Most people choose the student debt they get into. There are other options where they do not have to have so much student debt. If they believe that their track demands a degree, and I just got to do this because I'm going to become a lawyer. You do not have to go. It would help to go to Harvard Law, but you don't have to go to Harvard, Stetson. You could literally go to your state college, pay next to nothing if you went early enough, and still have the degree and not have the student debt. So if I could have minimal student debt and still have my master's by 24, 25, of course I would. So if that's what you've got, it's good. Go ahead.
See, my big counter, I think, is there are more and more people getting their masters, and there is, especially with AI, I think about it, a bunch of jobs that come if you get a master's. A lot of them will at least be partially automated or partially eliminated by AI.
Sure.
And so I would actually I think the people that I know that are, some of them are even younger than I am, that are doing quite well for themselves are the guys that at 17 went to trade school.
Yes. Trades, hands down. If you can swallow your ego, trades will make you coin, son.
Yeah. I mean, I know I've got a guy that I play rugby with. He's 23. He owns 10 plus real estate, like rentals. He's got and he all did this via the trades. And he is at the point where he's actually employing his mother and his brother part-time to work in his business, because that's how well he's doing. And he has the nicest BMW. Like, sure, who knows, maybe it's not the best spending of his money all the time, but he has a pretty nice BMW. And
if you can go the route of the trades, go the route of the trades. When I lived in the Dominican Republic, we met this little kid. I only know him as Long Hair Don't Care because that was his Instagram. And I say kid, the guy was barely 18. He was finishing a master's on scuba dive, and his master's on scuba dive instructing. And then he was going on from his master's in scuba dive, or his master diver course, I'm sorry, to do underwater welding. This, back in 2013, was paying $125 to start for an 18-year-old kid in 2013. Like, the trades are second to none. If you can run with it, I recommend for sure.
And I think that the big thing is that they're probably an easier route to entrepreneurship.
Yes.
Than someone that goes to college to get their master's.
Oh, bro,
100%.
you show up.
Go ahead.
I said 100%.
Okay.
I mean, like most entrepreneurs, I show up. Like we could walk out the door with 0 degree and show up and go, now I'm an entrepreneur. Like, there's no, and it's like, well, would you do good? The people who I know that have master's degrees rely on them for 9 or 10 months too long. Well, that's not how I learned to look at a P&E ratio or my spreadsheet or to do my business plan. You're fucking spinning your wheels. Go out and fucking sell something. Go sell something today. Fun fact. Not many people watching. Brian's watching. Brian, you're the only one who's going to know about this because no one's watching right now. In the last 36 hours, I launched another business that's already gotten its first sale.
OnlyFans.
Yeah.
Feet finder, bud.
Yeah, he's selling feet pics. That's what he's doing.
But they're not his feet. Honestly, how have we not started AI feet pics?
Oh man, and just
it's just like low-hanging fruit that people aren't doing because they're lazy. And I say that, and I could do it. Maybe I'll do it. And I'll call them Grant Sparks feet.
Beautiful feet. But we launched this whole dropship, Printify, journal sort of thing and launched it immediately. People with a master's degree, anyone with any education, would have spent time analyzing the market, doing a business model canvas, if you've ever heard of those, done an action plan, come up with the entities, got to get the LLCs right, got to get the logos right. I love this human being we did this with because we just fucking launched it and got a sale. Now, as sales happen, we want to do all those things I listed, but only as we're getting feedback from actually putting something in someone's face and say, would you give me money for this? No? Okay, no problem. Why not? Anything else is high-minded bullshit. It's hypothetical. Now, if you're in a specific type of business like quantitative easing or macroeconomics and you want to get it to a hedge fund, that's like a whole other science, right? That's a science and you need that shit. But otherwise, it's a hindrance. If someone comes to me with a degree, this is a true story. Sorry, Aussie. This is a true story. 2008 crisis happened. I slept in my car again, right? Not many people know this. I lost everything. I was in my car again. I finally managed to get a job at Starbucks 6 months later. I was managing a Starbucks. And while I was managing the Starbucks, we started to have hiring because everyone needed work. And as Starbucks, as well as many companies, got a ton of money from the federal government to start hiring people. We'd have people line up. I had so many people looking for work at my coffee shop that I would have to do group interviews. I mean, I'd have a line from the front. I had a small cafe, and it would go out into the parking lot. And so I'd bring in 10 people at a time and interview them. In one particular meeting, I almost had a fist fight with a guy who had 2 PhDs. He was sitting there, and in the middle of the interview, he looked to left and right. He was put out because there's a 17-year-old over here. There's a guy smoking a joint before it was legal over there. And he's like, I cannot believe this guy, Grant, is interviewing me with these people. And he kept leaning forward and telling me about his PhDs. Meanwhile, the 15-year-old girl got up and got everyone water. We were sitting outside in Florida. I asked her to stay and asked them to leave, and he got up and in a huff. He knew I was going to hire this girl, not him. And he was in my face. I've got PhDs. I do this, this, and this. I said, you're the only one who doesn't know how to serve. She knows how to serve. She's getting the job. All you have to do is know and care about serving other people and listening to them. And that's what this person did. So you had a thought. I'm sorry you leaned forward and I totally bitched out. And
No, I didn't have a thought.
Oh, no?
No. I was just leaning into that story. That's
degrees. I don't think they matter. I really don't accept in the sciences.
I think that's totally true. I like it. It's total, like, as someone who has a master's, am I grateful that I have a master's? Yeah. It was great. I didn't pay for it. I learned some extra stuff. It should help me. It opened up some opportunities within the government that I wouldn't have had otherwise.
Yeah.
And will probably continue to open up some opportunities for me throughout my throughout my government career. But if I were to have found all of this entrepreneurial stuff when I was fresh out of high school, I don't think I would do what I did.
Yeah.
I don't think I would.
Jared, I mean, you have a master's.
Mm-hmm.
Would you have done any of it again?
Not for the learning. Like, I did learn really cool stuff, but I mean, the reason why I do it again is because I met a lot of really cool people, and I have like a really interesting network now of people that work around the world that I know, and they know me, and they know like what I bring to a group project, what I can bring to get stuff off the ground. That's really powerful. But this is all, or I could have just read the Bitcoin Standard. Like, I learned more about money in that book than I did in my master's program, because they were teaching Keynesian economics. They were teaching the fiat standard. They were teaching, everything, prices must go up and we don't know why, and so I think the value of any education at this point is about your network more than anything, because what you learn now doesn't matter. And I say that with all respect to my professors who are wonderful and everyone else. We didn't have ChatGPT. We didn't have ChatGPT 3.5 that I could sign up for and get really quickly and then just have answers and just play with that and ask it questions all day. I do think that for some jobs, you need a master's. That's just how the game is set up. If you don't want to do those jobs, entrepreneurship is totally there for you. Entrepreneurship is really hard, though. As you know, it's not easy.
No.
If it were easy, everyone would be a millionaire, a billionaire, a gazillionaire. But one of the things I want to go back to is the idea about a Roth IRA or whatever you want to put money in an IRA. I think that those things are dying as well, because as fiat currencies die, they're just tied to that. And the printing of that is just pumping those up. They're inflating those values. And so I think over the long period, and I did this is one of my earlier podcasts for Wi-Fi and Water and for More Than Blockchain, was just talking about how long-term, if you're only in 401ks and IRAs and just like you own a home and that's it, you may not be able to retire. Shit is going to get gnarly. And we're just not going to see the stock market, like all this total theory in mind. All the money in the stock market eventually is going to just switch over into crypto, whatever that looks like, even if they're tokenizing assets that are like tokenizing Tesla or whatever. And as that happens, I think it's really going to shift some shit up, switch some shit up.
Interesting.
Bottom line is like all the wealth I think is eventually going to go on chain, because the United States.
Are you including like FedNow or the CBDCs or any, like, is that your general thought?
No, I'm not even including that. I'm just talking about like equities, the equities market and stock market. I'm just saying I think all that's
Yeah, that
going to go
makes
on
sense.
chain.
I mean,
Because
tokens are already like, I mean, we already have tokenized versions and synthetic Coke stocks and a whole bunch of other things through Mirror Protocol. And I think,
but I'm saying like they'll all switch over. Like they'll actually say we're no longer just like buying a stock through a broker. We're literally going to put it on chain so anyone could buy it. Because one of the things that like happens in the stock market that I see all the time, and I was talking with a colleague of mine about this. We were talking about financial freedom, and I was like, I don't like a lot of these long-term investment vehicles because I don't want to wait till 59 or 65 to take my money out. I want to be like, oh, here's an opportunity. Maybe I'm 42. I want to take the money out. Maybe I'm 31. I want to take the money out. And it's just interesting that like with 401ks, for example, there's like a 10% penalty. They're like, if you take it out, there's a 10% penalty. The whole idea is they want to just keep, and like the guy who started the 401k, which was just like a tax loophole that was not supposed to be used the way we use it today. He's like, the whole point of this thing now has blown up to where traditional financial institutions just use it to keep the average Joe Schmo's money who knows nothing about the market, just to keep their money pumping into the system to help everyone who's actually trading and like actually investing, the investors, to keep their nut moving, growing. And I found that that's really interesting because if you ever try to take money out, there's stipulations. Oh, you can't take out to your 59, you can't take out to your 65, or there's a 10% penalty. So the thing is just it's blown over, it's blown up, and I think it's not going to do well over the next 10 to 20 years as things move on chain, as things change into crypto. I also think this is why, as the U.S. economy continues to kind of like it putters along, to be fair at this point, the average American just doesn't invest enough money into it. So by opening up Tesla to the rest of the world, well, you're opening it up to trillions of dollars, right? It's not a bad thing to open it up to the rest of the world if it were something like Bitcoin where everyone can get access to. But like the average Colombian can't buy Tesla stock, right? Most people on the planet don't have access to a lot of the stocks, you and I do, Grant, and probably Aussie you do. And so opening it up to the rest of the world makes sense, and the easiest way to do that is by putting it on chain and just offering it that way.
Oh, it's absolutely like, I mean, bringing equities into as just tokens through the crypto markets and how we have access to crypto, it's a total no-brainer if we're talking about equity for the world, just because then anybody can access stocks anywhere or these equities from different companies anywhere in the world, and then essentially, but the US won't allow that because it will
That's interesting.
the economic power of the US, because if anybody can invest in Tesla stock, then anybody can take advantage of those gains, and then anybody can become independently wealthy or retire or anything. And so by keeping it only Tesla stock only available to Americans or Canadians, we can get access to it as well. Then you're keeping that equity and that growth within a concentrated area.
So the biggest thing you said there, and this is where crypto comes and gets interesting, right, is control. All money and wealth and is just about control, and then it's about power, right? If money is power, then we want to control the power. And I think you're spot on, but I think the Fed now may change that. And the Fed now is literally, for phase one, is going to roll out any time now. And that may change actually how things are done. Because then it's like, okay, you're in Colombia. Great, Jose. You want to buy Tesla stock? Guess what you have to do? You have to take your pesos, turn it into the digital dollars, through the CBDC or through the FedNow system. And now you can buy, so we can track how much you own. And then they can say, oh, you know what, Jose, you're buying way too much. We've done some due diligence. We think you're actually into some shady behavior. Well, now we're just going to turn off your spigot. Done. Your wallet's turned off. So it does come back to control. And I think FedNow creates the control. FedNow is like the valley in Thermopylae to funnel the Persians towards the Spartans, right? It is going to create some mechanisms of control. That's actually a decent analogy. If you think about all the Persians being all the wealth in the world coming through the valley of Thermopylae, and the Spartans was FedNow being like, you can come in, you can't, you can come in, you can't. That's the way I kind of see, like, I guess the future. And I was on with yesterday with Good Day Crypto, Sean Clark, and we were touching on some of these things, and we obviously were getting a little Bitcoin maxi about some of this stuff. But
Jesus,
thinking about Bitcoin, thinking about the future of wealth and how people are going to create it. I guess I just wanted to push back on Mike and say, I don't think dumping money into an IRA is going to do it anymore.
But I think it's nuanced. I think especially the advice I was giving there, and I know you're not specifically coming against what I was saying, but you are coming against the institutionalized narrative of IRAs. I agree. If you're starting your IRA at 25,
Sure.
you now have to pay in the rest of your life, and now you have opportunity cost decisions to make. What can I do with this money? It's not going to compound the way it needs to. So why would I, or anyone like me, entrepreneurial, who does believe in crypto, not as maxied as you guys are, I do not believe the future is Bitcoin. I don't believe it. It's not happening. I believe Bitcoin has a future. And I believe that that is a very specific distinction. I believe Ethereum is more the future than Bitcoin is. I believe they both have strong futures, and my investments show it. But that aside, I think that the IRA is not a bad advice, or anything like it that compounds is not bad advice. Any mutual fund, it's not bad advice if and only if you start early. There's an end date, 24, 25, 26. And now that is the only scenario. Or, and here's the caveat. You guys are familiar with Publix shopping centers? It's a shopping center. It's a big shopping center in the South Aussie. It was started here in Lakeland, and it's got like a fan following, right? Like they have these subs that no one can touch, right? Like
Pub
everyone
subs.
Pub stubs, son. But Publix has produced more millionaires of bag boys than anyone you've ever met, any company you've ever heard about. People will wake up in Polk County. They'll have no education. They'll start as a grocery bagger, and that will be their life. And they'll do it. I know two guys at the gym I go to that they're like early 40s, 41, 42. They could quit working today and have 7 and 8 figures in public stock because they started early and their investment compounded. So it's not just IRAs and mutual funds. But they decided to continue on. They realized, I'm not ambitious, I'm not entrepreneurial, I'm cleaning up. Just like the military, I put in and I'll get a serious pension from this company. If you know that you do not have ambition, you know that you're not much of a reader, dude, start young, invest in your IRA, keep going. That's who it's for. And to Jerry, your point, if you have a home and have a chunk of money, that might not be enough when you get older. And I agree with that. I really do. I think that is a very true statement. But I do think IRAs have their place. Now, if you're entrepreneurial, my advice still is start young, cut yourself off at 24 and never put another dime into it. Leave it alone. Now, pivot on your heels to entrepreneurialism and fight like it's a death match and become an entrepreneur, because now you can put your retirement out of your head. You can quit worrying, and not that you have a safety net because you still have to wait till you're so-and-so of an age. By the way, you can borrow against your own IRA, not have the penalty fee come out, invest in real estate with a portfolio loan, and now you've doubled your thing. There's Tristan. Hey, man, straight over from Scotland. So you can put it out of your head. Go ahead. What do you got there, Jared? Go ahead.
Yeah. I guess I was just saying, if I'm sitting in a room with 16-year-olds right now, convincing them to have an IRA over just buying a split of Bitcoin and ETH every month for $100, that's a tough buy. I think that they're going to be like, why wouldn't I just do this? I mean, over the next 10 years, like, we should go right into, first of all, we need to talk about Threads before this is over because it's fresh for all of us.
Yep.
We also need to talk about Brian's, and that's where I want to go right now, right?
Yep.
I showed my dad the other day. He's 78 years old, a very traditional conservative investor. And he only recently got into Bitcoin in the last 2 years, even though I've been telling him about it since 2017. But he kind of needed signals to get on board with it. And one of the signals was actually Saifedean's book. He read the book and he was like, okay, let's do this. And now he's got a good amount of Bitcoin, and we talk about it a lot. And we talk about crypto. And he's a programmer from the 80s. He gets the idea of like having code and using that for finance and organizing, a decentralized network. And I guess the point that I wanted to make was, he said, I showed him the video, Larry Fink. If you haven't seen it, just search Larry Fink, Bitcoin, Fox News on YouTube. It will come right up. It's about 50 seconds. You're looking for a 50-second long clip.
Yeah, man.
My dad looks at me and he said, the biggest thing that he said here? And I riddled off a bunch of things. And he said, he just said the A word. He said asset.
Yeah.
He said, this is an asset. And that is huge. And Grant and I are building something right now. Aussie, you know about kind of what we're building, but that word changes everything.
Yeah.
And so for me, if I'm sitting in front of a 16-year-old, I feel like I would be like, dude, or, we could also just say we in 8 years, we'll be able to look back, right? From the 16 to 24-year-old, if we sat in a high school room today, in 8 years, we'll be able to look back and be like, what did better? An IRA of Vanguard or a basket of stocks, whatever, versus just crypto ETH, Bitcoin ETH split. We know in the last 8 years, it's not even an argument, right? Is that going to repeat? No, Bitcoin's not going to go up 1.3 million%. That's never going to happen again because it's really more value than exists on the human planet.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think Bitcoin, still has 100x over the next decade, easily.
And do you know what? I'm actually investing exactly along that line right now. I could be putting money into my RRSP, which is the equivalent of a 401k, and my TFSA, which is the same as a Roth IRA. But every paycheck, I put a 50-50 split between Bitcoin and ETH every week, every 2 weeks when I get my paycheck.
Yeah.
And I think that will have a more long-term, better return than putting money into an IRA. If you don't know about crypto, then put it, and you're just an entrepreneur going into trades, like going into the trades or something like that.
Sure.
Then yes, 100% the IRA route makes sense. But if you know about crypto, I don't know if I would make that decision.
I would never tell a 16-year-old to be a fanboy or fangirl or maxi of anything. That's the thing I'm trying to hedge against. Not that I don't believe in the future of a thing, but if we were to actually look at, like, I've read the Bitcoin standard now, I don't see anything there that changes my needle at all. I've read it all before. There's not a single new concept in there for me. Now, for the average person, this would probably blow their socks off, right? And they might be convicted about sound money and self-custody, and that might really scare the pants off of them. And then they might go, okay, if I have an allowance as a 16-year-old and I got $400 a month, I'm going to split it between Bitcoin and ETH. Do I think that is a smart play today? Yes. But what my biggest concern is, what principle am I teaching them? And the principle is speculate, bet the farm. Can you bounce back at a young age if you're wrong? Yeah, if they're 16 and they're wrong at 26 and something doesn't go all the way like we thought it would, then at 26 they can bounce back, and that's a risk assessment and a risk portfolio. But what we didn't teach them, the reason I believe in teaching them about other assets, and not just IRAs for IRA's sake, but other investment classes, is because the most important investment is their financial literacy. And so if I had $400, I'd say take 50% of it and do an allocation. Do crypto and do Bitcoin and Ethereum, hands down. Do another 25% in TradFi, mainly because I want you to learn about what you're buying. And I want you to journal this process, and then take another 25% and go take classes, courses, buy something, increase your financial literacy. Because the best investment is that we know what's going on. Because whenever I have become a maxi, I held on too long to something. Whenever I became a maxi and lost, and I didn't think nimbly, and I didn't have my identity tied up in that investment class. And therefore I was blinded to watching the writing on the wall should something change. And the most important thing is to be a surfer of these things, and to be able to move in and out and go, okay, that's where the wave's at, riding the wave. But being a maxi of anything is like having one wave come and trying to ride that wave for the next 6 hours, the same wave. And it's like, it is good, and there's some investment here, and this is some future, but like, are we learning in the process, or is it abdicating the learning just like an IRA would? They just abdicate their learning. Go ahead.
So I want to push back on that wholeheartedly. Please. I agree with the idea that we should teach someone how to fish, not give them fish, because that's what it is when you say just buy Bitcoin and Ethereum, and you start that brainwashing process is what you're saying. But I also think we get into this entire thing of learning about financial literacy because our system is so fucked up. Pardon my Spanish. The fact that we have to all learn how to basically stay ahead of inflation, that whole system is jacked in the first place. Yeah. And that's where Bitcoin's like, you don't have to know anything. This is a savings account. Bitcoin isn't necessarily an investment as so much as it is a savings account. And so when you look at it that way, it changes everything. This idea that we have to get, Grant and I and Aussie, we have to sit around and be like, oh man, how are we gonna stay ahead? I'm arguing, hey, having a couple $1 million in 40 years, 50 years isn't going to be worth anything. That's the problem. That to me is the base root issue of this entire thing. The fact that we have to run around crazily and be like, are we going to do real estate? We're going to do crypto. We're going to do this. That's the problem. Right. So I guess I agree with you, but I also wish someone, when I was in 2015, when I had a lot of, Renaissance and come to Satoshi moments, come to Jesus moments, come to financial freedom moments in 2015, I wish someone sat me down for an hour who I trusted and said, you need to learn about Bitcoin, and maxied the shit out of me, because God knows where I'd be today financially. Right. I don't think Maxiism is a bad thing at all. I think many of us, Grant, you and myself, I know you've had spiritual Maxiism in the church, and that's probably coming up for you right now, being like, hey, we can't just focus on one thing and say everything else. Hey, like Allah doesn't exist. It has to be God. And I've had Maxiism in my own life. But I think once you've been a Maxi of something, then you can see that Maxiism isn't great. So I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. Most people that I know that can speak about the world in many different levels come out of that from like, a holy shit, I grew up in the Christian church, or I was a military brat and I didn't understand liberals and now I do, or I was a vegan and now I start eating meat and I see the world, or I started eating meat and now I'm a vegan. Maxis, and we're all Maxis in many different things. Even being a Maxi in financial literacy is still choosing to be a Maxi in something.
Yes.
As opposed to people who aren't focused on financial literacy, are spending whatever they want, have crazy debt, have credit card debt, are in toxic financial systems. So I guess it's kind of like, the whole thing with that we have to chase returns, I think, is the issue in general, right? Like, this shouldn't have to exist in a world.
So are you becoming a socialist? Are you becoming a communist?
Oh,
I feel
this
like
bro has been a socialist for a long time.
The thing is socialism, or what did Keith Haring or Andy Warhol? He said communism should work. The problem is everyone wants their own shit. It's like these socialism, democracy, communism, all of these styles of like how we organize people, they should all work in theory. Like if they didn't, we wouldn't teach them as theoretical, within school when you're learning about geopolitics. But then then the rubber hits the road, and we still, among all of those, live currently in a capitalist framework in which it's very difficult to keep some of those things on the rails for a long time.
Oh yeah, man. Who owns the capital? That's a big question. I think Maxiism is bad. Period. Well, no, not period. Comma. Unless it's a principle. Like, yes, I am a Maxi for financial freedom. But the reason is that's at the objective and values-based level. That means I'm nimble-minded for the strategy. I think I'm a Maxi for self-custody. And so that means I am a fan of Bitcoin. But as soon as you start saying to yourself, I know this has a future, you are now a liar. And I
don't think so. I don't think so.
Because no one can say anything about the future in certainty. You can say, I am confident in this thing's future. You can say, I'm investing as if this thing has a future. You can say a lot of things, but from a scientific perspective, you cannot say with any degree of absolutism, this has a future. And as soon as you step over that line, you're right, it might be from my Christian trauma, but anytime you exert that amount of certitude about the future, you immediately are in a tail slide of abdicating critical thought. And it doesn't feel like it at first. It's a progressive, like you never go back to the Bitcoin standard with new eyes and go, where is this wrong? It might, like, you start to have your own sacred cows. You start to have things that are, this thing cannot go wrong. And it's like, oh, that's the moment. That's the moment where.
Oh, I think it can go very wrong. I'm just saying, you can't, first of all, anyone can say whatever they want. They can be wrong, right? People think the earth is flat. They can say, I know the earth is flat. They're wrong.
Exactly.
Right? So anyone can say whatever they want. At that point, it becomes a belief. And you normally have beliefs around things that you actually are not knowledgeable about. right?
Correct.
We have beliefs about religion because none of us can really prove any of it.
That's
At the end of the day, it's faith-based, right? That's the whole point. I guess it's just kind of like, I don't know. This all goes back to like talking to the 16-year-old, and I do think that if you just said, hey, 16-year-old, I'm going to match whatever you put in every month for the first year, for the next year. What I want you to do is come to me with a presentation of the 3 things you're going to buy. Think about whatever you want to buy to appreciate. I don't care. Come back to me. I don't see a situation in which Bitcoin, Ethereum, or crypto isn't at least 50% of that portfolio. I just don't. The young kids are just sitting on Roblox or whatever they're on, whatever game they're on. They're all going to be, when they're our age, mid 30s, like late, mid 30s, late 30s, 40s. In 25 years, they're all going to be sitting in AR. They're all going to be sitting in AR. That's it.
Yeah.
And the clothes that matter aren't going to be threads, right? They're literally going to be digital things. So these kids, it's not a bad thing for them to start to get their treasure trove going now of having that money.
You're right.
I guess I just think when I say I know that Bitcoin will be around tomorrow, I don't see the network dying in the next 24 hours. That's my point. TikTok next block. I don't know. But we are running on time.
Yes.
I feel like we should talk about Threads, because Threads is fascinating. And Threads did something, actually, to come back to your original point where you were talking about the company you just dropped, which is super cool. I think that people overanalyze how simple it is to kind of create a company and just launch. You can do that in the silent of night and just launch, because that's kind of what Threads did. Now, we had talked about on this episode, on this show, that they were rumored, Meta was rumored to do something a la Twitter. I thought it was going to be tied into Instagram. So you'd be scrolling, you would see someone's picture, and it would basically show you more of their caption. But that you always
I was thinking that.
But that you always had to have an image a la Instagram tied to the caption. Now, maybe it would allow you to do the type to text, which like Facebook has, where you can be like inspiring quote and then add some more context. But I was so surprised to see that they just built an entire separate thing.
They just built Twitter.
Yeah, they just built a Twitter. And I posted on Threads on Twitter and on LinkedIn, because I think it's crazy fascinating. Elon is already suing Mark Zuckerberg.
It already came out.
Saying, what the hell? And if you look, when you go to, if you're on Threads, if you look and you go to, because I did this earlier, Grant, I was responding to something that you had posted. So I'm going to go on, and if you respond to someone and you want to it says repost, which would be retweet, but then it says quote. That quote tweet, like he could have said repost, and the other one could say something like add your opinion, but they said quote. I was like, dude, this thing is the exact same. It has the UX, right? It has the look of Instagram. In the feel, the UX and UI of Instagram, and it's super clean and it's more playful. But dude, it is a carbon copy. And I saw this meme, which I loved, and it was like Snapchat took stories, TikTok took reels, Twitter took. So I don't know. I'm excited to hear y'all's opinion on it. I've been dying to actually ask you, but I've been holding off because I've been like, let's just do this live on screen. Grant, you've been pretty active on it. You talked about being able to touch base with people, because there's only, I think in 24 hours they had 10 million users. So it's still a super small social network compared to TikTok, which is billions, compared to Facebook, which is billions, compared to Instagram, which is billions. But that will not last. Even by now, it's probably up to 30 or 50 million. And by the end of this weekend, it will be over 100 million. So it's almost like a place where if you are listening to this and you have a brand, this should be a jungle gym you should want to play in this weekend.
I want to answer this, but I want to make sure we acknowledge these 2 comments real quick. Brian first said, "Good morning, gents. So I heard Larry Fink thinks Bitcoin is digital gold." We touched on that a little bit. This is what changed Jarrett's dad's heart about some things. And in some ways, a lot of equity funds are racing against the next spot ETF. If Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, is changing his tune so definitively, what does that bore or bear for the market? And then Carlos Fossey Jr. says, howdy and good morning. What do you think about the SBF situation affecting long-time and new crypto investor faith? Aussie, I was going to pass this to you briefly because I do want to come back, and I just want to spend like 3 minutes on this because I do want to jump back to the threads because I think the threads is relevant for anyone who's into cutting-edge technology and crypto Twitter. But very briefly, is there a new thing other than the Taylor Swift thing that Carlos is talking about?
I haven't heard of anything new coming up with SBF. I mean, FTX is trying to relaunch.
They are trying to relaunch. They've gotten 7 billion clawed it back. I was actually interested to talk about this too. But Aussie, what else do you know about SBF or FTX?
I mean, other than the fact that they're trying to relaunch, there's nothing major. I mean, his case has kind of been quiet as far as
Generally,
I have
yeah.
seen. So I don't.
The only
really
other stuff in the
see-
headlines that I've seen is that he backed out of a Taylor Swift sponsorship deal. And I'm like, well, I don't care if he backed out. Like, there was some rumors that Taylor's team backed out because they noticed that his funds were unsecured on audit. But that doesn't seem to be the narrative now. And so I'm like, I don't know what the latest news is here on this. Because
the latest news is really just that FTX is trying to relaunch.
Okay.
And maybe under a new name, maybe not. There's been debate whether or not they are, and that they'd clawed back 7 billion, that they'd kind of done some accounting and gotten filled a lot of the hole that they were sitting on when they all collapsed. So
well then just to acknowledge you, Carlos, yes, we do believe that the original SBF situation did affect longtime faith and new crypto investor faith, but in crypto years, this was a decade ago. And I know it wasn't. I know this was just last year. But in terms of the ripple effects and the lasting impact of FTX and SBF, that implosion happened, and we've been recovering. And short answer, yes, new crypto investor faith is very shaky. In fact, so much so that I don't know about you, gents, but I don't think there's going to be a crazy new amount of retail liquidity moving over here. I think what Jarrett says is absolutely on point. The tokenization and fractionalization of things and the institutionalization of crypto. We'll all have our money in crypto, but not as retail people that much. I don't even know if Robinhood's crypto features will even be here in 3 years. So, I mean, other than just retail people tinkering, I think stuff like that is largely going to go away, except for degens and people that understand the value of it and know how to navigate it with ease, like any new social media app. I'm telling you, I had a coffee this morning, guys, on talking about bridging technologies. And we held this class last week, which I'm sure you saw, about marketing. And we did this brief section on how to create a reel. And I thought this was so rudimentary, these people are going to hate it. No one in the room could get it done. They've never done it before. We think people know Reels, Instagram Reels. We think people know Twitter or YouTube. And there are people who are looking at this mystified. And I mentioned threads, which we can talk about now. And I brought up threads to this person. This person said, I've never touched Twitter. I'm never going to touch this. So I'd like to bridge to that if we could. So Aussie, I get the feeling you have not opened threads.
No, it's not letting me sign up. So
it's Canadian conspiracy, right?
I believe that they are banning me. I'm shadow banned from threads. They won't let me sign up with Google or with my email. They're like, you're shadow banned. So
pros and cons. The best onboarding experience I've ever seen.
I'm shadow banned, so -10.
-10. Aussie. And it's not that Canadians are shadow banned. That can happen. But Aussie as the token #1 commentator on American politics out of Canada.
I am shadow banned.
He is shadow banned. That's a negative. But it was the easiest onboarding I've ever seen. I got the dopamine rush of the early Google Plus days. For those, use a VPN. Carlos calling out a bro. I don't know if it's a Canadian thing though, Carlos, in all sincerity. But yeah, give it a try. Try VPNs. I'm finding, I don't know about you guys, I am finding a whole new audience. There's a dilemma now of Instagrammers who know my Instagram self, but don't know my Twitter persona. And some people were joking about it. I'm going to let those worlds collide like a freaking train wreck. I don't even care. But I'm finding there's less degen trash in these early days. What are you finding, Jarrett?
Yeah, it's going to be a lot less DJ trash because there's a lot less pseudonymous people that use Instagram.
Yep.
People use their real Instagrams.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing about Instagram is stories changed this a little bit where people kind of like let people see behind the scenes. So it wasn't just polished pictures, right? But a lot of people on Instagram create content sparingly. The average person
Mm-hmm.
doesn't create a lot of content. They put stories up, but that's not like those are, ephemeral things. A lot of people don't want to write something on a wall that's just going to kind of sit there forever. That they can be roasted for.
Yeah.
So it is going to be for the next month a playground for people to really build brand. And I posted that exact thing, Grant. I was like, I don't share any of that DJ shit because a lot of the people who follow me know me personally on Instagram, and I don't want to bombard them with Bitcoin and crypto and you should invest your money. Like I don't want to, or I bought this NFT. You should buy NFTs. This is what NFTs can do. Those worlds are going to collide, and I already said, prepare yourself. I'm getting fucking DJing. I'm sharing whatever I want, however I want. And I just think it's going to be kind of funny because just like you, Grant, my writing style is focused on tech. It's focused on probably sport. It's focused on culture. It's focused on politics, geopolitics. It's focused on tomorrow's innovation. And then on Instagram, I'm just doing different things. I'm sharing different stuff. What I will say is I haven't been able to set up the more than blockchain thread because when I click through, it goes to my personal account. So I don't know how they're going to do multiple accounts on your phone. What I may do is download the iOS on my computer and set up more than blockchain there so I can start to like rock with both. Because I would like to have both just because it's so early. If you start to post, I was thinking with more than blockchain, I'm literally going to post every single YouTube I've ever done with a blurb. It will take a couple hours, but just have that out there that people are just like seeing that. I also don't know if hashtags are working quite yet. You can't really search for them. I don't know if those even hit yet. So it is interesting, but it seems more like a Facebook, Instagram, where it's more kind of like fun and fluffy, as opposed to like crypto Twitter, which is dark, which is real, which is everyone's just sharing their honest, opinions. They're saying
down bad, bro.
They're saying the soft part out loud, right? So I do think it's going to be a place where Instagram people, especially if they're just like posting these ridiculous photos of their hand and like a culotta, a Dunkin' Donuts culotta, and they're like, morning run, I love life, let's be positive. That's just, I don't know. Like that stuff on Twitter just seems fake. On Instagram, it seems real.
Well, it's weird. It's weird because for the longest time, in the ancient days before Threads, 2 days ago, people used to go to Twitter for that more authentic experience.
Yeah.
And though it was full of it was a mixed bag of positivism and negativism. And, some of this stuff that seems fake or seems basic, I would even say basic more than fake.
Sure.
But like basic. A lot of the human experience is basic bitch shit, me included. A lot of the human experience is us fighting our way out of a paper bag and trying to live a unique existence while still living an existence connected with others. And so if some of it is banal in Twitter, I like the fact that, man, this is kind of like societal vomit. It's like, yeah, dude, that's reality. And I like that. So then comes along Threads. And Threads feels like popcorn cotton candy version. But I'm realizing I like that. And so I'm grateful for them. And so though I think my worlds will collide, I think I will have a more degenerative experience on Twitter, though it's public. Anyone could go read it, because I noticed that the audience, there's an Instagram audience that has never been in any sort of Twitter. And now they're able to experience more stream of consciousness. And this is the thing about Twitter that I love, the UX of Twitter and now Threads that I love.
Yeah.
It's nearly real time. It is brain vomit. It is this higher pace of stream of it has the ability to be stream of consciousness. Medium is well-crafted articles. Facebook is a little delayed. Once they get home from the beach, then they post their photos. Instagram is curated over the weekend and these stories. And I do like the potential in the popcorn cotton candy world of Instagram to still have more of a stream of consciousness. And so I think that it will appear to an entire... In fact, I've been finding people that I know from my co-working space that have no idea about my Twitter self that are going to be exposed now to my brand. They're like, hey, giving this a shot. And there's, from a marketer's perspective, it is a brand new channel in tone and in audience. I love it.
I love it too. I think it's great, and I'm interested to see what it does. Now, my question for you, Grant, is, and Aussie, you can weigh in. This is something you definitely can weigh in on. You haven't been on Threads. I'm sorry, you're shadow banned. It happens. What do we think this is going to do to the launch of Blue Sky?
Gone. Sorry.
Okay,
Gone.
That's
my take. That's my hot take. What do you got, Aussie?
I mean, people will go towards things that are exclusive. I mean, are going to go towards things that are kind of interconnected to things that they're already used to. Blue Sky is, behind the scenes. It's invite only. It's very, it's not getting 10 million downloads in a day.
No way.
And so I think unless you're a big part of social media is how many people are there, how big is the audience? And right now, Blue Sky is not getting the audience.
It's not trying to get the audience. Threads dropped overnight, and they onboarded people. If you had an Instagram account, it took about 2 clicks and a download. So they're not trying to. They haven't really opened up. They're trying to onboard people that they want on, probably to make sure that they keep their handles. And then I think they'll blow up. But do you think it's gone like Grant, or what do you think?
I think it's gonna take a while.
It's gone.
If it happens, it's gonna be, they're really gonna have to do something different.
Yeah.
And
so I don't think it's gone. I think it will actually be something very big for 2 reasons. One, I think it's going to be Web3 or crypto native. I think when you log on, you're going to have your own wallet, probably ETH, Bitcoin, probably Bitcoin Lightning because Dorsey's a maxi. Ethereum, so you can have NFTs, and then USDC if you want to like just pay or whatever. I think that's what I think. And I think that that's going to bring a different sect of people. And like Meta is not going to be able to get that done quickly. They've tried. They're not going to do that. They had NFTs in the back end, and you could like put them up and you could authenticate them. They already took that out. And then, so that's one. I think the Web3 crypto, I think, is the future technology. And then 2, I think people eventually, or just in general, this isn't going to bring any new people to Threads. It's just bringing Instagram over, right? Whereas Blue Sky could bring people from a bunch of different places. And most importantly, it's not on Meta. People do not like Meta. They don't want to be part of the Meta. I don't
think people don't like Meta. The number of people on crypto Twitter that, I don't know of their Instagram or other personalities that have moved over to Threads, it's phenomenal. It's enormous.
But they haven't moved over to Threads. I guess what I want to say is they've opened a Threads account vis-a-vis their Instagram, so they're already part of the Meta. I guess.
But I think what I'm saying is there's people that didn't have Instagram that saw it on crypto Twitter, opened.
Are you sure about that? Yeah. I don't know anyone who's opened it that didn't have an Instagram. But
there are people that I know.
Yeah, okay.
There are people that I know that did it.
I just think that long-term people don't like the Zuckerberg ecosystem and they want to find ways out of it. So Twitter is a way to balance Threads, or Blue Sky will be a way to balance Threads, right? Instagram, is TikTok if you don't want to be in the Zuckerberg. If you don't want to be on Facebook, I don't have a solve for that. But this is where Telegram rose to prominence, because when WhatsApp was bought by Zuckerberg, Telegram took off because people don't want to be tied into that ecosystem of information.
And these numbers, I'd like to look at numbers, because I hear the speculation and I hear the logics, and I agree with, man, okay, that's a strong logic. Yes, we can brag about this, but like, to me, the argument of people that were on crypto Twitter that are now on Threads, the point is not that they didn't have an Instagram. Mm-hmm. The point is how loud they are on Twitter about censorship against Meta. Meta's going to censor you, bro, and it's ads driven, bro, and like, and it's like, but you're here. How did you end up over here?
Well,
I just want to be a part.
Yeah, I think you're hitting on something deeper, which is that most people on crypto Twitter don't back up 90% of what they talk about.
Which I think is most people. And so my point, I believe that factor as a sample of the human condition is why Blue Sky will be a toast. What about Blue Sky will absolutely do what you're saying? The underlying AT protocol. The underlying AT protocol is actually what's taking them so long. They're trying to build a decentralized social media protocol that anyone can boot up any social media they want. But what is proving true that I'm disappointed about, I'm not happy about it. No one gives a shit about decentralization.
That's not true, Grant. That's not true. That's not true at all.
On the macro, there are very strong subcultures that represent large numbers, tens of millions of people that do like decentralization, but billions who keep the machine alive and popular. So forgive my extrapolation saying no one. Most people do not give a shit about decentralization.
I would give 5% of the world's population maybe gives a crap about decentralization.
I would say it's even less gives a crap about decentralization, but I also don't think 98% of the world has been posed with thinking about decentralization longer than just saying the word out loud.
Oh,
so
sure.
It's
Absolutely.
Like if the internet comes out in the 90s and we have this show, we're like, dude, people don't care about the internet. It's like, dude, they don't even know what the fuck it is. You know, like,
well, but here's my point. So you're right. And the window that we've had to do the onboarding,
yes,
and to get them to drink Kool-Aid, that window is shutting. When you have a spot ETF at institutional size, it takes the narrative. And then when you have, and so when UX becomes easy, the dialogue about, so there's a cost benefit analysis in the economics in an individual's brain. Do I want to participate and be a part of the trend and the momentum and gains? Or do I want to stand on a core value and go slow? Do I want to join, and the paradox is, do I want to join Threads because I don't want to miss out? Or am I going to hold out because I believe in a principle for something I might have heard rumored about once that might take another 10 years to get off the ground, called Blue Sky?
Oh, these aren't mutually exclusive. I just think saying Blue Sky is gone is a really tough thing. Jack Dorsey's brilliant, and I just think having Bitcoin Lightning Network in the back of a social app is going to be huge. And I think the way he's rolling it out is great. If you want to get people into a club and get a line going, you charge a lot up front to create exclusivity, or you create your own FOMO. I think Threads is low-hanging fruit right now. I don't think it's done anything different than Twitter. And I think when you have the Web3 in the back and people are like, oh, it's against Zuck, I think that's a narrative for sure.
So it's not gone. It's not gone the way Tumblr's not gone. Tumblr's still here.
Tumblr came out though. Blue Sky hasn't even launched.
It's launched,
and you're disappointed in it.
It's on iOS. It's launched.
Yeah, but I mean, like, not to the masses. I'm not saying like until everyone can sign up. For me, it's not launched, honestly.
So I agree with the exclusivity argument, but I hear this all the time. If you have an exclusive, people want it more. You're absolutely right, but there comes a waiting period. I forget this law, but if your marketing is exclusivity, and I'm slowly leaking out, but low key, it's targeted towards the masses, you have a conflicting marketing message. Either we're elite, and you, like, for example, iOS has played this long drag out game with me long enough that I ended up hating it. I'm just open source now. Or I'm Android, which is technically not open. Technically, Android's open source, but like I'm not Microsoft either. But I kept holding out for this big thing. So let's create this brand of exclusivity, make it very difficult, and then we'll make it available to the masses. Now, people often parallel this to Elon's making Teslas available to rich people first, and it's like, well, no, that was different. Literally, their cost per unit wasn't low enough. There was a manufacturing thing, was different than a mass market SaaS. And I think that he's making a massive mistake I have gone on to Blue Sky twice now, the website, and it shows the app. It actually shows the app in the Android store, and I download it, and I'm like, okay, now I'm ready to rock. And I go in and I open, it's like only available to iOS customers. And I'm going, listen, I know you're a genius, and I know you're a maxi. You are losing the market. I believe their AT protocol will live on strongly in tons of micro enterprises. But if we want to say Blue Sky's not gone, okay, that's an extreme. No one. I can't use extremes like no one. I can't use extremes like gone. Fine. It will never have mass market appeal because the mass market's over here now. We're out here. I do think it will do what it says it will do. I do think it will take time. And I do think fanboys and fangirls who are already living on the core values will love it. But from a UX, what can they offer? It's always difficult to, like right now, the way they describe how you create your own social network of you and people have to connect with you and find you. I'm already exhausted at finding friends just thinking about that. Like the UX does not seem like they're not selling anything. They're selling an ideal to people who already hold those ideals. But those people, I don't think, and like, what's the ad revenue? They don't even have an income model. There's no income model. And as much as we poo-poo on Meta's ad income model, we still don't mind running the hamster wheel as a species. I can't imagine there being a mass market. Do you see the masses going blue sky? I mean, the masses?
I see the masses being curious enough to do it. And I think that this is going to be in a point over the next 3 to 5 years where people want to be tied to crypto. They want to see what's going on. And I think if you need like 300 or 400 max influencers to get on this thing, and millions of people will follow them. You're telling me if Hermosi's on there, Grant, you're just going to be like, oh, I guess it on the side, blue sky said it was God. No, you're going to follow him. Like I think this thing will blow up. I think it will take time, but I think we'll totally hit 100 million users. I will eat my own words if it doesn't hit 100 million users.
Blue Sky hits 100 million users. Is there a timeline on this?
I will say 2 years after launch, which I think is reasonable.
Okay.
But how long are we talking before launch? Because what if the population? Yeah, what if the population is 100 billion,
including shadow banned Aussie, can sign up.
Okay, so I want to make a gentleman's wager.
When Aussie creates his account, you start the 2 years. I say it's going to get to 100 million users. Okay, which is ridiculous. That's a lot of growth, right?
It's a lot of growth.
It's a lot of growth. But I will bet. What am I betting? Let's make a bet.
No, gentleman's bet here. From the day that it is mass available.
No, from the day Aussie can create an account, because he's kind of an indication.
No, because Aussie's a fucking outlier.
Right, because I'll pay Aussie $500 off mic to be like, don't create an account till we're at 99 million.
No. That's one. That's two. That's a single point of failure. No
way.
Aussie
was about to get a payday and you blew it up.
Yeah, come on. Maybe I was gonna be actually able to make it to permissionless.
No. From the day Blue Sky is publicly available to all platforms.
Okay, so Android and iOS was what we're saying.
I'll just say Android and iOS, and I can create an account.
We're making it available to the IRS now?
Grant misspoke. He meant to say iOS, but he said IRS.
iOS. From the day that's possible, 2 years from then, 100 million users. Okay, gentleman's wager. Well, let's make a donation. The loser makes a donation.
The loser makes $100 donation to the winner's choice of charity.
I'm down. What's your choice of charity?
I'll be giving to Mercy Corps.
Okay, that's good. Let me think about mine because mine's going to be sardonic. So I'll have to think about mine, and then we'll follow up on Threads and Twitter and our socials with the official bet, right?
I think so. Yes.
So hold me accountable to that. So a gentleman's wager, and I will double down. I will double my loss if it exceeds
100 million.
No, I'll double my investment. You're saying 100 million in 2 years. I'm saying if it exceeds even 50 million in 2 years, users, I'll double mine to $200.
So is that just the bet? Why don't we just make that the bet? So there's not like, I mean, we'll tweet this and stuff, but it needs to just be a clean bet. You know, do you just want to say 50 million in 2 years?
I would be shocked.
Let's do 50 million, $100.
50 million.
No double,
I will
just 100.
Officially be shocked. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if he starts pulling these influencers, I don't mind conceding early. But I can't.
If he pulls Hormozy.
If he pulls Hormozy, I'll be like,
maybe we should 50 million or
I'll
Alex
then become
Hormozy,
a total maxi.
Either way, Grant's a max.
I'll wear Bitcoin underwear. Yes. I mean,
Okay, can we
dogs
get him
laying down with
streaking
cats.
through Lakeland, Florida in Bitcoin
We're going to have the 2025 calendar for Not Crypto Bros is going to be Grant doing all these weird things in Bitcoin like briefs. But
if
the thing
Blue
is,
Sky hits 50 million.
But the thing is, they're not like sexually explicit things. It'll be Grant just sitting in a co-working space, hunched over, typing away, but in his Bitcoin underwear.
In my Bitcoin. Okay, I got to get out of here. Shout outs real quick. I have an 11:30 I got to get to, super friends. What Do we have shout out?
Shout out to Grant to donating $100 to Mercy Corps in the future.
Oh, it is not happening, bro. It is not happening.
Shout out to Grant for ruining my ticket to permissionless.
I got both.
He was about to get paid, low-key.
Yeah, so I got both of those. So for the trifecta, I shout out me for standing on my convictions.
First of all, he starts this episode saying he doesn't believe in Maxiism. He ends it by saying, won't happen, impossible. Gravity doesn't exist for blue sky.
That's not Maxiisms. That's not Maxiism.
That's absolutism, yes. Anyways, we'll see everyone on Tuesday at 3:30 p.m. Grant's down $100 in future money, which won't be worth anything. If you're interested, buy the Bitcoin Standard, Maxi yourself. Find us on Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube at Not Crypto Bros.
If you want reason, check out Multiple Streams of Income or Robert G. Allen and some pragmatic realism. But
find Grant and I on Threads. Aussies can't be there. He's Canadian.